They weren't just dolls, they were witnesses. On the edge of the quiet town of Fairview sat an old Victorian house, windows shuttered, paint peeling in long tired curls. Few dared to approach it, even in daylight. It belonged to Elias Mercer, an aging dollmaker whose creations were so lifelike they made people uneasy. Every child who had owned one swore they could feel the doll's glass eyes following them around the room. Some swore they whispered at night. But what terrified the town most wasn't the dolls, it was Elias himself. He rarely left the house except to gather peculiar items from estate sales, locks of hair, discarded photographs, occasionally even teeth. People joked he was just eccentric, but those who got too close to his workshop never left for long. Tonight, Lydia Grant, a local journalist, intended to uncover the truth. She had chased stories of fraud and conspiracy, but this one was different. People had been disappearing near Elias's property for years. Vagrants, runaways, and in one case, a delivery driver. None were ever found. She had one night before the editor killed the story, and she wanted proof. The house groaned as she stepped inside. Flashlight cutting through decades of dust, dolls lined the hallway, hundreds of them sitting on shelves, staring blankly. Each one was disturbingly unique, with realistic wrinkles, tiny freckles, and glass eyes that seemed almost human. The smell hit her next. Old wood, varnish, and something sour beneath it, faint but enough to make her gag. She passed a locked door marked private in thick black paint, its handle warm to the touch despite the cold night. Her flashlight landed on one doll at the end of the hallway. Its eyes were different, cloudy, like cataracts. The tag on its dress read, Marjorie, in delicate handwriting. Lydia snapped a photo. The flash bounced off glass eyes, but when the after image cleared, the doll's head was tilted. She was certain it had been straight before. She whispered, forcing herself toward the workshop door. Inside was worse. Shelves stacked with doll heads, some half-painted, others missing eyes or mouths. Glass jars held what she thought were fake organs until one shifted slightly inside, like something had twitched. At the center stood a massive workbench cluttered with tools and a book. It was old, bound in cracked leather with a single word burned into the cover, Witnesses. As she reached for it, a floorboard creaked behind her. She spun, flashlight trembling. A doll was on the floor now, and it was standing upright. Lydia's breath caught in her throat as the beam of her flashlight fixed on the doll. It stood unnaturally stiff, tiny porcelain fingers curled like claws, glass eyes gleaming in the dim light. She stepped back, her heel catching on something soft, a doll's head perfectly severed, rolling across the floor until it hit the wall with a hollow clink. "Who's there?" she called out, trying to mask the tremor in her voice. From deeper in the workshop, she heard it. Faint whispers, high-pitched and overlapping like children talking behind a closed door. She swept her light across the room. Empty. just rows upon rows of doll faces staring at her. Her eyes landed on the book again. She grabbed it, flipping it open only to drop it instantly. Inside weren't instructions or drawing, they were photographs. Portraits of missing people, each picture paired with a doll image wearing scraps of their clothing. Lydia's blood ran cold as she recognized one of them, the delivery driver who had vanished 2 months ago. The dolls weren't just dolls. Her flashlight flickered, plunging the room into half darkness. Something moved across the shelves. A scuttling sound like tiny feet on wood. Lydia backed up toward the door, clutching the book like a shield. That's when she noticed it. A row of dolls all turning their heads in unison facing her. One stepped forward, its porcelain toes clicking on the floor. Nope. She bolted for the exit, but the door slammed shut before she could touch it. The doll's whispers grew louder, blending into words now. Witness. The private door at the back of the workshop creaked open slowly and a warm yellow light spilled out. A figure emerged. Elias Mercer. His hands were stained with varnish and something darker, his eyes sunken and wide with excitement. You weren't invited, he said softly, but his voice carried a chilling weight. They don't like strangers. The dolls climbed down from their shelves surrounding Lydia's legs. She kicked at them, shattering one, but its porcelain face split open to reveal something fleshy, writhing inside. Elias stepped closer, smiling. They see everything. They remember everything. They are everything. One doll jumped, claws digging into Lydia's shoulder. She screamed, flinging it away, but more swarmed, their whispers becoming an ear-splitting wail. Witness. The room began to spin, the shelves stretching impossibly tall, the walls closing in. Elias reached for her hand. You can't unsee now. Lydia jerked her arm away from Elias, stumbling into the workbench. The old book slid to the floor, pages playing open to reveal more photographs, hundreds of faces, all wide-eyed, all terrified. Every one of them paired with a doll. The whispers from the dolls rose into shrieks so sharp they made her vision blur. Stop it. Stay away from me, she screamed, swinging her flashlight like a club. One doll's head cracked under the blow, but what spilled out wasn't porcelain dust. It was hair, matted and wet, boiling like worms. Elias watched calmly, like a proud father seeing children at play. They like you, he said softly, voice trembling with reverence. They always know who's next. Lydia lunged for the door, slamming into it with all her weight. It didn't budge. The dolls moved faster now, spider-like, climbing the walls and ceiling, their glass eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. One landed on her back, clawing at her neck. She ripped it off and hurled it, but another took its place, then another, until she was dragged down, pinned by dozens of tiny porcelain hands. Their whispers became one voice, dozens speaking in unison, inhuman and layered. Witness. Witness, witness. Elias knelt beside her, stroking one of the dolls as if calming a pet. You see, they hold the souls. He whispered, every secret, every sin, every last scream. I don't make dolls, Miss Grant. I make prisons. The dolls climbed onto her arms, her legs, her chest. One pried her mouth open, another held her eyelids apart. Elias leaned in close, his eyes wild. Now you will stay. You will see. Forever. The dolls swarmed her face. Something cold and wet slid down her throat, filling her lungs as the world tilted and darkened. She could feel herself slipping, not into unconsciousness, but out of her body, into something small and cold and unblinking. When the pressure stopped, she was no longer on the floor. She was standing perfectly still, unable to move, staring straight ahead through glass eyes. Her own body lay discarded on the floor like an empty shell. Elias smiled, gently adjusting her hair. She is beautiful, he said, placing her on a shelf among the others. Dozens of dolls turned their heads toward her in perfect unison, whispering their endless chant, witness, witness, witness. When police searched the house weeks later, they found nothing but dolls. One with curly hair and wide green eyes looked uncannily like Lydia Grant.